Welcome to the show, guys. Doing a book review for you today on Stephen King's 42nd published novel. It's his 53rd published book overall. It's called The Colorado Kid, and it's part of the Hard Case Crime series. Now, I'm going to do this book review spoiler-free style. However, at the end of the review, I'll give my spoiler-filled thoughts on what I think may have really happened in this one. The Colorado Kid is an installment in the mystery detective fiction series called Hard Case that seems to recreate the flavor of 1940s, 1950s era paperback mysteries. A lot of popular novelists have contributed to this series, including Stephen King, Donald E. Westlake, Ed McBain, Michael Crichton, and many others. There are actually over 100 books in this series, and King has contributed 3 at this point. The first being The Colorado Kid, the book I'm reviewing now, also Joyland, and his most recent contribution, a novel called Later. On an island off of Stephen King's Maine, a man is found dead, and there's no identification with his body. The local police quickly lose interest in the case, and only the dogged work of a couple of local newspaper men turns up any clues. But that's just the beginning of the mystery, because the more they learn about the man and the baffling circumstances of his death, the less they understand. Was it an impossible crime or something stranger still? The Colorado Kid is a fun and gentle mystery where clues are slowly introduced to the reader, and we have to try to figure out what happened here in a style that is unusual and a bit captivating, mysterious, and a little enchanting. I really liked the easygoing way of this one, a lot more than I initially expected to. In fact, I put it off for years because I didn't think that I was going to enjoy it. And one of the best things about this one for me was the characters. In the book, a journalism student named Stephanie interns for the summer at a Maine newspaper outlet called The Islander. And while she's interning there, she befriends her mentors, a couple of old guys, the newspaper editor named David Bowie and the newspaper founder named Vince Teague. As Stephanie works with the two men at newspaper headquarters, one day they tell her a story about an unsolved mystery that happened years ago on the island, about an unexplained death. And that's how this novel plays out. It's the two men, Dave and Vince, telling us a story about an unexplained mystery, and Stephen King does a great job with the characters of these men. They have harsh Maine accents, and it's clear that they've lived on the islands of Maine for their entire lives. And Stephen King really plays with their characters here. You know, this is a fairly brief novel, and there are a lot of things that I liked about it, but their characters are one of my favorite things, and I like the character of Stephanie as well. We, in a way, are Stephanie in this book. Stephanie is being told about this case, and we are being told about the case. And Stephanie is trying to figure out what happened, and we are trying to figure out what happened right along with her. And although there are really only 3 primary characters in this book, I thought that they were very well done by the author. I don't use the term enchanting lightly, and I'm not using it lightly here when I say that there's a bit of mysterious enchantment involved with this tale. We're on the islands of Maine, and you get a sense of separateness, of being closed off from the outside world, and we're also being relayed a mystery that is kind of vague in detail, but really interesting, and that contributes to the mysterious nature of this whole thing as well. This is a comfortable setting. The beach, the food, the tourists, the wildlife. King is a native of Maine, and if you've ever read more than a couple of his books, you know that he often puts his stories in a Maine setting, and I feel that he hits a home run with the atmosphere here, and that he really gets what he was going for with this book. This is a short book. Even calling it a novel is being somewhat generous, but I felt that with the personalities of the characters that basically ring from the pages of this story, and the gentle and enchanting atmosphere and the mysterious nature of this whole thing, with the unknown that this is a worthwhile read. Now, I went into this with a bit of a bias. I did not think I was going to enjoy it, and that's why I put it off for so long. It sat on my bookshelf here for years, and at first I got what I was expecting. Sometimes in life you get what you're looking for, and I wasn't particularly impressed with the first couple of chapters here. After all, I think this is rated a 3.36 roundabouts on Goodreads. This is one of King's least celebrated works. However, the author does a great job introducing the mystery here, and with each little clue that we're given, it pushes us in a direction that feels like the resolution, the answer to the whole thing, is just outside of our grasp. This is such an unusual story. I've never read a mystery that is like this one, and I don't want to spoil it for you. I will here when we get to my final thoughts shortly, but this was refreshing. It was a fresh read for me, and I think that what really makes this one worthwhile is its unusual nature, and I think that as far as the pacing goes, that this is a quick read, that it's a fun read, and that it's definitely a worthwhile reading experience. I give this book an 8 out of 10 stars rating. Now, it can be hard to rate a book because different books set out to do different things. For example, I rated Stephen King's It an 8-star rating, and that novel is a much better one than this one overall. However, The Colorado Kid doesn't set out to be some epic adventure like that book set out to be. This is just a small town mystery that ends well, in my opinion. Of course, I had to read it. I'm on my quest to read every Stephen King book. This was my 54th completed Stephen Kinger, but I do recommend this one overall. My final thoughts, and this is where you, dear viewer, tune out if you are avoiding spoilers. The question here, friends, is what in the world happened to the Colorado Kid? One of the things that I like about this mystery is that it does not seem to make a whole lot of sense. How in the world did the Colorado Kid get from Denver all the way out to Maine in such a short period of time, and how and why did he die? Something very pressing must have come up in that man's life. And what about the cigarettes and the foreign coin? Did King just throw those in there to cause some confusion? Or do you believe that King really knew what happened to the Colorado Kid as he was writing? Or perhaps it was a mystery to him as well. Just to summarize in a sentence or two, the Colorado Kid leaves his place of business in Denver, Colorado. Several hours later, he's dead on a beach in Maine with a pack of cigarettes in his pocket. And he didn't smoke, by the way. And he has an unusual foreign piece of currency in his pocket, a coin. And it appears as though he may have died from choking on a kind of chewed up piece of meat. The fact that there are several mysteries going on here, several mysterious clues, really makes this book a good one, I think. The trip to Maine, how did he get there? Why did he have that coin? Why did he have those cigarettes? And how did he die? Could he have gotten himself into trouble with the mob? Maybe he was completely psychotic, or maybe he had a lover out there in Maine, or maybe it was just some unusual, seemingly harmless series of innocent events. King does give us a clue in this story, one that I missed, but that I found online, and I want to read for you a short paragraph here. King noted on his personal website on October 7th, 2005, that an apparent research error regarding the rise of a Seattle, Washington-based Starbucks coffee may hold other implications, tying the book's story to the same shared universe of many of his other novels. Quoting King, "The review of The Colorado Kid in today's issue of the USA Today mentions that there was no Starbucks in Denver in 1980. Don't assume that's a mistake on my part. The constant readers of the Dark Tower series may realize that that is not necessarily a continuity error, but a clue." So King mentions in the story that there was a Starbucks in Denver, Colorado in 1980, and there wasn't one there at the time. Denver did not get its own Starbucks until 1992, but this is not a mistake, says Stephen King. this is a clue. King is telling us here that the Colorado Kid does not take place in our world, but a very closely related world, and that brings this piece into Stephen King's multiverse overall, and is a direct nod to the Dark Tower. Now, it's possible that the Colorado Kid did not travel from Denver to Maine by conventional means, and I think that that's what King is getting at here. That he didn't drive, that he did not take a plane. We know that in the Stephen King multiverse, Jack Sawyer, for example, can travel into the territories. Maybe something like that is going on with the Colorado Kid. He may have also used a portal to get from Denver to Maine, something in the way of a door. It's not easy to say, but I like the fact that this is an unresolved case, which I usually don't like in a mystery, but I think that this one will stay with me for some time to come. There's a lot more that could be said about the Colorado Kid, and I'm sure that you all have some theories of your own, but I'm going to stop it right here. How did the Colorado Kid get from Denver to Maine, and how did he die? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and let me know what you thought of the story in general. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I will see you next time.